Yo, how's it going, fam? So, coming back to today's trading session, we actually went over USD CAD. Today is September the 22nd, 2020, currently 11:59 and 44 seconds. Now, you guys can see we have USD CAD, and we were able to hit a TP of a 3-to-1 risk reward, maxing us out over at a 4-to-1 risk reward. As always, I'd like to go ahead and prove the trades that we had. So, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a couple of before and after shots so that way you guys can see them. Here you may see the before shot that we were looking at when it came to USD CAD, which is a 5-minute time frame. Then we're going to go ahead and see the during shot, which is a USD CAD, where you're seeing the market moving to the upside. And finally we saw market coming back, retracing into the same area of that potential entry level, leading us to a movement to the upside, hitting our take profit zone. So you're able to identify take profit has been hit. And this is the same scenario as USD CAD right here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right now, I'm going to go ahead and break it down for you guys so that way it can be simplified and you can understand the full concept as far as what it is I was looking at this morning. So I'm going to go and break it down on a different chart because I don't like to go ahead and delete all the stuff I have. But looking at it from a bigger time frame perspective, for example, USD CAD on the H4 time frame, we're able to identify that market was moving to the upside. And one thing I want to take full 30 in right here is this liquidity zone right over here. So in this liquidity zone, we're able to understand that market had to shift to the upside and take this liquidity out before it moves to the downside. Now there's certain levels in the market that you wanted to pay attention to. For example, one of the levels that you wanted to pay attention to was going to be this point of interest right here that I'm pointing out. Now when it comes to this point of interest right here that I'm pointing out, you're able to identify that the market came to a crucial level, which is going to be the start of that point of interest, leading us to a psychological level of 1.33150, and we had our half point of that psychological level leading us to the round number of 1.33300. So in this scenario, now you're able to identify that market has reached certain levels. When the market had reached those certain levels, you wanted to pay attention to what was happening in that area on smaller time frames. You want to go ahead and pay attention to more details as far as the H1 time frame. On the H1 time frame, we're able to identify two scenarios, right? And these two scenarios that helped me to understand that I was not going to go ahead and buy yet or sell yet was this main factor right here. So you're able to identify that market had created liquidity down below when market came into the zone right here, which is the first point of interest. But not just that, but also market had created liquidity up above. Therefore, it was informing me to not enter off of this point of interest, but to potentially enter off of the next point of interest. Now, unfortunately, we weren't trading at that moment. That trade was happening around at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which at that time is 12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So at that time, we were able to go ahead and identify market went to downside and wanted to pay a little bit more attention to what market was doing in smaller time frames. Since we were rounding up to this scenario right here, we want to look for some type of retracement, but the smaller time frame was going to allow us to understand, the overall details that were happening. Now, on this smaller time frame, we were able to identify that this movement to the upside had cleared out liquidity from over here. As you may see, there was liquidity in this whole zone right here that had been cleared out. This whole zone had been cleared out due to the fact that we had this point of interest clearing that area out. Now, understand that market had cleared out the top zone, meaning that it had cleared out this area. We know that there is no more liquidity up above, but we also understand that there is liquidity down below, and where there is liquidity, there is money, right? Money that doesn't want to be left off for the banks. So eventually the banks wanted to go ahead and take its movement to the downside. As you guys can clearly see, market comes over to the downside and takes out liquidity, but it doesn't really have that overall push very, very strong, right? This push wasn't really strong. At the same time, this was happening around 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. At that time, it was still 3:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So in that case scenario, I was still asleep. I was not trading, and the time that I like to trade, as always, is going to be the New York time frame. I also sometimes adapt to the London time frame, but for right now, I want to show you guys how I was able to adapt to the market day to day, because it was a little bit difficult. There was certain things that I had to change around because overall I was looking for selling positions, but the opportunity at the time I was trading presented us some buying opportunities. In this case scenario, you're able to identify that market did come down and clear out some of this liquidity. So I was looking for some potential buying opportunities, but really at the point that I created those buying opportunities, you're able to identify that market came up into the zone and made liquidity right in this area. So since market had created liquidity before that New York session had entered, I knew that on that New York session, market was going to try to take this liquidity out so that way it can go ahead and make its move. Now, diving down into deeper time frames such as the M5 time frame, I'm going to go into it right now. But you may see that this time, this was at 8:15, this was 8:30. This time we're already on New York time frame, but we're able to identify that market had a move to the downside, very drastic move to the downside. And right here, you can see there's very, very low liquidity, which I was paying attention to that. But in order to pay attention to that, you wanted to go to small time frames such as the M5 time frame and actually really get into detail, which was the time frame that we were trading live with all the other members. Again, if you want to be one of those members, go ahead and click the link down below, and we'll go ahead and reach out to you as soon as we can. That is going to be the first link down below. When it comes to that scenario, you're able to see that the market came into this area, cleared out liquidity, okay? This candle right here had cleared out liquidity and had confirmed for me that market was going to potentially now shift into the upside and taking these equal highs out. As you may see, market had moved to the upside and had created its retracement. Now, the retracement that we were looking for that point of interest, which was in this area right here. Okay. As always, I like to go ahead and round up my points of interest, and that point of interest was rounded up to the 1.32900 level. So 1.32900 level was the level that I was, 950 level. Let's go ahead and just double check. I like to go ahead and be accurate. 940. Okay. It was the 940 level that we were looking at where we entered. So 940 level was the level that we had entered for the day of today. And as you can see, the entry was straight on for a good entry. And market had moved to the upside, taking out the liquidity that I had mentioned. And I was observing for it to take out. Now, I did know that there was a imbalance zone right here. There was insufficiency in the market where the market had to go ahead and create some liquidity going to the upside, taking that area out, or more than likely balancing its way out again before starting moving to the downside. But again, I wanted to just go ahead and get in and get out as fast as possible and be done with my day. So as you guys can see, you're able to identify from the moment that we analyzed during when market was in and then take profit. So if you guys were able to take advantage of this, you are one of those members that jump into my sessions every morning. Let me know what your experience was, and if you are not, you feel free to go ahead and click on that link down below. It's going to be the first one to join, and let me know what you'd like to see on the next session. All right, I'd like to go ahead and give some feedback as far as what it is that you'd like for me to go ahead and touch bases on. I'll more than likely continue on doing more of these before and after, so that way you guys can get the hang of it, and then eventually I'll be able to answer more questions. So with that said, hope you had a great session day today, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.